Good afternoon. This is Peter Clark at Theradex, and we are doing a training for the ETCTN specimen tracking system for lab personnel who receive specimens from the treating sites. And this call is specifically for the 10,067 protocol, but the forms and the way of using the forms in this protocol is universal amongst all ETCTN protocols. So even though if you're watching this video and at a later time might be in a different protocol, please rest assured that everything that you see in this video will be applicable for you as well. So I'm just going to share my screen. And Kathy and Chris, please feel free to ask questions as we go through.
Sure.
Because any questions you have, somebody watching this video at a later point in time might also have.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to log into Rave with two different roles. And so getting right down to it, both of you will need to have Rave accounts if you don't already, and I can orchestrate that for you either later today or tomorrow. All of the data entry for the ETCTN protocols is carried out in the Rave EDC environment. And right now, the screen you're looking at, and I assume you can both see my screen?
Yes.
Yep.
Very good. This is the iMedidata homepage. So all of the different protocols that I have access to due to my role in the iMedidata environment will be displayed at this screen. So if you guys are only going to deal with one protocol at a time, you would only see that one protocol at this homepage.
Okay.
So today we're working with 10,067, so I'm going to just search for it here. And it gives me three different environments. And you probably will only see one environment, and that would be the main production one. Today we're going to be working in the UAT, user acceptance testing environment, and I'm going to go into the Rave EDC. Again, you won't have all of these extra options here. You'll probably just see Rave EDC when you go in. So I click on this, and I'm going to choose a role here, and you will not have this role choice. Both of you will be using the biorepository role, and I'll explain shortly why it's called that. I'm going to log in with the CRA specimen tracking role, and this is the role that at the different treating institutions, data will be entered using this role. So here in the UAT environment, it's taking me into the Dana-Farber test site. The patient that we're going to work with today, patient 27, and I've already done data entry for this patient. And I just want to show you a few things here in this environment, but we're going to mostly focus on the biorepository role. So we'll switch to a different environment. So there's lots of folders here representing all of the clinical data that might be collected and probably will be collected for each patient in the study. All the specimen data is located in the All Specimens folder. You, as biorepository role users, would also have access to the baseline folder and the enrollment folder. So in All Specimens, we see this is the first screen that you see, the specimen tracking enrollment form. And you'll have access to all of these different forms and folders in here as lab workers. And here you can just get an overall rundown of the specimens that have been taken for this particular patient. And based on the protocol, at the baseline, there's a blood sample taken, and that blood sample is processed into plasma. There's another blood sample taken. It's the whole blood that is drawn and sent. And then there's a formalin-fixed paraffin embedded tissue sample taken as well. So each time one of these new specimens is entered into this form, a folder is added on the left over here. So if you need to take a look at data for the particular specimen, you would go into these folders to see what's what.
Okay.
So the first specimen here, the blood sample, said there was 3 labels needed. In the protocol, we see that it's specified that there should be 2 tubes of blood drawn and that these should be processed into plasma. So when you receive these, Chris, you should be receiving these plasma tubes on dry ice.
Okay.
That's what this first specimen is, and if we look over here, we can see that there's a date that it was collected today and the fact that it was processed into plasma. So if I click on this, I can see the details that were entered for this specimen. So both of you will be able to look into these screens, but you won't be able to alter them. There's only 1 or 2 forms that you'd be able to alter. And in the shipping status form, this is where all of the shipping information is entered. And I entered this a little earlier, so my name is listed here as the contact, and I put in just a made-up phone number. So you'll see the name of the person at the institution where the specimen originates in this line item, and you'll have a way to call them if there's some problem. When they enter this record, they're going to specify one of you as the receiver of the specimen. And I haven't done this part yet because I was waiting for us to get on the call. But when the specimen's ready to be shipped, the user will click this checkbox to send an email alert, which in this case is going to send an email to you, Chris.
Okay.
And so I'm going to click the edit pencil and click this checkbox and save this. And you should receive an email in the next minute. Maybe it will be 2 minutes, depending on if you have some firewall security that the email has now
got it already.
Through. Oh, you did? Great.
Yep.
So that example email is very similar to what you'll be receiving, and it's just for one specimen, but you could have multiple specimens. It's possible that in the box there could be specimens from multiple patients, and that email that you receive will always be very clear about what specimen ID number is associated with the particular patient. Now, I believe that it's possible that I might receive a copy of that. Yes. So here, for the record on the training, for everybody watching this, this is the email that Chris received. And we see the treatment patient ID. There's also a universal patient ID. The difference between these two, the treatment patient ID is just for this one study. It has the site identifier built into it. The universal patient ID would be the same for the same person if they went on a different study. So this is the way that we'll be able to always identify a particular specimen with a person outside of the treatment environment of a given protocol. And the specimen ID, listed here, it includes the protocol number that this specimen was drawn under and the universal patient ID, which is always a 12-digit number. So again, this ID that's embedded within the specimen ID that matches right up here is associated with the person, not with the particular protocol. And then finally, -1 is just saying this is the first specimen taken for this patient. And just so that you can receive it too, Kathy, I'm going to go back to the All Specimens folder and visit the other specimen folders. So let's see, we had a whole blood. This was to be shipped to your lab, Kathy.
Okay.
And we can see details. The universal patient ID is always at the top. The treatment patient ID is right in the RAVE environment in terms of the tabs across the top of the screen. So you will always be able to see that there. Universal patient ID is in a number of places. There's also an intrinsic patient ID, which again is directly connected to the person. And we have the specimen number and some more details.
So can I ask a quick question here? If we're corresponding with somebody regarding this, can we use one of these? Like if we have to write to the person who sent it and ask a question?
Yes. I would always
Okay.
use the treatment patient ID.
Okay. And is that
So-
what I'm not sure at this point. I have not had a chance to look at the protocol, but if we're returning results on these patients, is that the number we'll be using as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Everything for this protocol is going to be based on this number.
Okay,
the treatment
great.
patient ID. The universal patient ID is more for cross-reference when a patient is in multiple studies.
Okay, good.
But it's also embedded in the specimen ID number so that later on the specimen can be associated with a particular person.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. And we have the shipping status form here, and I'm going to once again, and Kathy, you'll notice your email address already in the form.
Okay.
And I'm just going to update this form and click the edit pencil on the send the email alert. And I'll click save, and it's going to send you an email,
Okay.
which will have 2 specimens in it instead of just one. And when we go back over to look at the unstained slide specimen, this is the FFPE, and we also had a shipping status record here showing, again, that with this particular tracking number, this was included in the shipment. The user is not going to send multiple emails, so they only will click the checkbox once. But it's possible somebody might get confused and click it a number of times. And so just to let you know, you could get several emails if the sender doesn't understand the process. And Kathy,
Okay.
did you receive the email?
I did, yes.
Good. And for everybody else, this is the email Kathy received. Here we've got the treatment patient ID, universal patient ID, and the 2 specimen IDs. Notice here we've got -3 and -2. So now switching back over, well, I'll show you one other thing, and then we will take a look at the biorepository view of things. At the patient level, there's a specimen labels report, and you might need that if you're going to well, actually, I don't think you would ever need it because the specimens will come to you already labeled. Let's see if I have that report. I believe here it is. So here is a label as things currently stand. It includes, we have a little error message. We'll ignore that for now so that we don't lose the screen. The patient IDs on this particular label as it stands now, the treatment patient ID is not included. And so that might be changing. We may end up putting the treatment patient ID on here. Right now, we've got the universal and the intrinsic patient IDs, and then the specimen ID that includes within it the universal patient ID, category of blood, baseline time point, and the user at the treating institution will handwrite in the date and the time on the label that the specimen was drawn. Any questions from either of you about this?
Nope.
Just one sec. I want to look at something here. So.
Yeah.
So okay, but so the universe or the treatment patient ID is not going to be on the specimen?
That is how it is right now. I had a meeting just the other day where we were discussing maybe changing that.
You mean like the MA number?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we usually go by on these too.
And that's what, yeah. I mean, to me, if that's the number that we're going to be corresponding about and responding, and sending results on, that's a number that we'll want to be logging in. So,
as I said, that is under discussion. CTEP initially did not want there to be a direct link with the treatment patient protocol number. I'm sorry, a treatment patient ID and the specimen. They wanted to have a way to de-link the specimens from the treatment. So that's why initially we did not include it here. But I think there's been some rethinking of that decision. And so if we decide to do that, I'll let you know as soon as possible.
Okay.
So going back into the RAVE environment, if I go to the site level, and you'll be receiving this report in the box as a shipping list. And so when the site user generates the report, they would choose the tracking number that they got from FedEx or whatever shipping agency they used. And so here's one of the tracking numbers for these test examples, and I'll click Submit Report. And the report generates in anywhere from 30 to 60 seconds. Apparently, it seems like it's more than 60 seconds, but you can see in the top left corner the little circle happening that it's still thinking, so to speak. We'll come back to this report in a minute. I don't want to waste too much time. Well, here it's generating. So this is the shipment sent to Chris, and it tells you the protocol number, the site where the shipment came from, the date, the tracking number, and of course that tracking number in the courier is also in the email that you received, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
And here in this report, it gives the treatment patient ID along with that universal patient ID and the intrinsic one. It's a little bit of a longer story than I want to tell right now why we ended up with 3 IDs here. We have the specimen ID, time point, category, type, sample sent, and a few other important dates and times, sample site. So this will be included in the box, but it's also, you can generate it at any point in time as long as you know the tracking number. So that email that you receive, it's an important thing to keep just as a record of having received the specimens.
Okay.
So if we printed this other one, which I'm not going to spend the time doing right now, we would see the 2 specimens. This is the one sent to you, Kathy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, going back, so this environment that we're in, you can see I'm logged in as the CRA specimen tracking. But now I want to come over here to another window with iMetadata home screen on it and go back in as the biorepository role. So this is the role you both will be using. Again, you won't have to choose it here. It will just automatically select that role. And at the top, it tells you which role you're logged in with. And so here we are, again, looking at the patients at the Dana-Farber Harvard Cancer Center. We're looking for patient 27. I went to the second page, but you can also type in a patient number here in this box and click the magnifier, and it will take you directly to the patient. So now, logged in as biorepository role, I only see a very few number of folders. So you won't have access to all of the other clinical data. You'll have access to the demographic data in the enrollment form and histology and disease data, including a pathology report. That's included in specimen tracking in general. I'm not certain about 10,067 if that's required, but it's here in the histology and disease form so that the sites could upload a pathology report. If I click on this, it just downloads to my computer. Using the Chrome browser, if I choose open, it's going to open it directly up right here in the browser. And so here's a sample report. And we've specified in the form instructions that you might be able to see behind this image of the report that all private patient data identifiers would be removed. So there'd be a redaction. You'd see a black magic marker through various critical things like the patient's name, for instance, and any medical record number from the hospital that identifies them. You may also see a label stuck on this. We are instructing sites to print an extra label so that universal patient ID is right on the pathology report. So we're teaching all of our sites to print the label, press it onto the pathology report, perhaps right over the patient name, and then scan it and upload it into RAVE. So that way you do have a direct correlation between the pathology report and that universal patient ID. There's also the administrative enrollment form that includes the universal patient ID here and the intrinsic patient ID. Again, both of these are linked to the person, and we just have zip code and a few other data points of secondary patient ID or registering group. The important thing for your work is always going to be in the All Specimens folder. The prior treatment information is also available to you in the baseline folder. I didn't enter any in this test run, but you would be able to see all of the prior therapy information, which is sometimes quite important in knowing what to do with the specimens. So going back into the All Specimens folder, Chris, when you receive that box, that it's not actually coming to you, but
right.
we're using test data, but you would go in to this particular record, the plasma specimen, and go to the shipping status form, click the edit pencil for the record, and then you would want to add information to the last 3 lines of this form. So you would just click the edit pencil for receiving condition. It was sent to you in dry ice. Now, if the packaging failed and something happened in the overnight shipment that damaged the specimen, you would need to enter that here. If it arrived exactly as it was shipped, you would say same as shipping. But
okay.
if something happens, you would choose other and then fill in the details in this extra field here. So, whatever it is that you observe, if the packaging's damaged, if a container for the specimen is broken, if it's missing, you would enter that information. But we're hoping that it's always going to come through perfectly, so
right.
we'll use, And I'm going to click this edit pencil for the received. This is the date. We always want to say when it was received. And if I enter the 14th of December tomorrow, Rave is going to give us a query saying that future dates aren't allowed. So presumably you'd be entering this data tomorrow, Chris, instead of today. But I'm just going to enter the 13th so we don't get that query. And I'll click the edit pencil for the last line here, and we're just saying that we received both. So there were 2 tubes of plasma sent. Now, if for some reason there's only 1 tube in there and the shipper thought they'd put both in, you want to record it here, only 1 received. And also it's in good condition. You might receive one that's perfect and the other got crushed. So we'll click Save. We don't get any queries. If we had a query, this line would go pink, and we'll look at that in a moment with the other specimen. So, Chris, you would just need to enter these 3 data points when you have successfully received the specimen.
Okay.
Switching over to specimen sent to Kathy, we'll look at the unstained slide. Here's the FFPE. And again, you can review all of this data, but the edit pencils are not active. There's an X through it. And that just means that as a biorepository role user, you don't have access to change these data points. But you do have access to work with the shipping. So, Kathy, you've received it, and we'll edit this line item. And the receiving condition is same as shipping. And I'll just show you what happens if we put in the 14th here. And we'll say that we received both samples, which were slides. And so now we've got this pinkish color on the record. And if we go back in and look at it, it gives us a future date query. So it says you can't know for sure that you are going to receive it tomorrow until it is tomorrow. So then we could correct this, and when we do, the pink goes away.
So I have a question here because I do log other studies into Rave.
Yeah.
And so what I'm wondering is, normally when I open it up and it just has that page there showing where I need to receive the specimens like we see at the bottom. I don't click on the green arrow. But what I'm wondering is, usually there's not a green checked arrow until after I've, it's blank, until after I've received all that. So I'm just wondering what the difference is here.
The difference is that the user at the site saved this record, and when they saved it, the Rave considered it to be complete, even though these values weren't filled out.
Okay.
So there weren't any special edit checks that would mark these as required. So we didn't want queries to pop up that would kind of disturb the treating site to think that they hadn't completed everything that they were supposed to.
Okay. Got it.
Yep. So if you receive that box, Kathy, you would need to acknowledge each specimen received. So you'd go back out to all specimens and go into the whole blood folder here, shipping status. Click the edit pencil. We're going to edit each one of these. And this one was received same as shipping. And the date of today, just so that we don't get the query. And that, yes, we did receive one sample. So we click Save. And that's all you would need to do in the data environment when you receive a specimen. Now, it's possible that each of you would need to ship these specimens somewhere else. I haven't read the protocol in detail, and I'm sure it spells it out there. But in many protocols, the specimens kind of bounce around to a number of places. So if you do need to ship it somewhere else, you would be entering a new log line item in the shipping status form. So just to demonstrate that for you, for posterity's sake, we're now, again, we get to choose the courier, FedEx, UPS, the U.S. Postal Service, and a local or hand-carried delivery. I'll choose FedEx, and I'm going to put in a tracking number here. So you would then be shipping it from your institution. So we are looking at a blood sample that Kathy received. So it's the University of Washington Laboratory, and it's coming from Kathy. What's your last name, Kathy?
Agnew.
Agnew. And I'm just going to make up a phone number here.
I want to say I'm very impressed with this. There are many features I could have used with my past studies, such as this screen right here.
Oh,
just
good.
a couple weeks ago, we had to ship something out right before Thanksgiving that we got by mistake, and it would have been really nice if we could have just done it ourselves. So,
I'm glad that
I'm very impressed with your system. It has a lot of features that I do not have in my other studies. So,
right. Well,
good job to whoever created it.
Thank you. It was me.
Okay. Well, I'm here to tell you it is excellent.
Good.
So,
good. I had lots of help.
Not to disparage prior groups, but this is way above what I'm used to.
Good.
Same here.
Good. So each protocol is customized with these drop-downs, so that if there is some other lab that you need to send it to, in many cases, there's for ETC10 protocols, specimens are shipped to the biorepository, which is why this role that you'll be using is called the biorepository role. So the biorepository is at Ohio State University for ETC10, and that would be listed here in the drop-down if that was part of the protocol. Also, the NCI Frederick Molecular Characterization Lab is going to be utilized an awful lot and could even be utilized for your protocol, because I believe there are some things to still be determined with regard to specimens. Anyway, if we're shipping it from Washington, it's not going to go there. So let's choose the Mass General Hospital Brain Tumor Laboratory. And I'm going to then list the shipping conditions here. And it could be that it was shipped to you, Kathy, at room temperature, but maybe by the time you're sending it, it's going to be frozen if you were to send it somewhere else. So we'll put it on dry ice. And then we would have to put the date in the future when you'd be sending it. So it could end up being, say, the 14th of January, 2018. That's going to give us a query in the Rave environment, but we'll put it in anyway. And let's see, we're just going to send one tube, and we don't fill in the rest of these forms. You don't click the checkbox for the email until you're sure you've got all the specimens ready to go in the box. If you know you're only sending one specimen and you're ready to send it, then you can click this immediately. Also, if I click it and click Save, it's going to send an email to the Mass General Hospital, and they might get confused by receiving that. So we won't send them an email right now. So I would click Save, and now, of course, it's pink because of the date in the future for the date shipped. But if you're going to send it, Kathy, you would need to send a shipping list report. And so going back to the Dana-Farber, now let's remember the shipping number. It's the one that ends with 0007. And we'll go back to the site level. And I see that I have neglected to activate the report. So the report would show up out here. So I can't demonstrate that here right now. But if we switch back over into the CRA specimen tracking, we can print the report. So you would see this shipping list for 10,067 out at the site level. And the tracking number, we're looking for the 0007. I click Submit Report. It's opening up a new window here. And here's that shipping list with January 14, 2018 is the shipping date. There's the tracking number. And here it shows that this blood sample is being sent to the other laboratory. So you would then use the printer icon here, and it's going to generate a report that is a PDF. I recommend choosing, it's set to the A4 paper size. I think that letter is more typical. I believe there's also a legal size here if you have legal paper in your printers. It's set to portrait. It's best as printed as a landscape. If I click the print button, it's going to generate the PDF down here at the bottom. I can open that PDF up in Adobe, or I can open it directly in the browser here. And it's showing me, it's a two-page report because there's more data that can fit on a regular letter-sized piece of paper. But now I could click this printer icon and send it to my local printer. Then I would then pop this report in the box. So you might also, for some reason, need to send the pathology report also in the box. That can be done directly in the Rave environment, as I showed earlier. Whether you're in as a biorepository user or CRA specimen tracking, we can access that report that was uploaded to the histology. It's in the enrollment folder, histology and disease form, and I just click directly on the link. It downloads. I click the open button here, and I believe in order to print this, we might have to actually open it elsewhere. This seems to be just kind of a viewer. I don't see any. Yes, there's different ways that you could open it using other types of, oh, here is a printer. Maybe that would work. So these scanned images, they can be a PDF, they could be a JPEG, this PNG format. Not sure, I don't believe my printer is active. But anyway, I would recommend if you go to the downloads on your computer, there's that same report. And you could also just try right-clicking on it, and there is a print option. Okay, so you could then print it at your local printer if the pathology report needs to be included in the box. Any other questions that either one of you has?
I don't think so.
I don't have any.
Great. So I will make sure that you both have this biorepository role for 10,067. And if you have any questions as you use the system, please don't hesitate to email me or phone me. In my email signature, see if we can find one. Yes, so here's an email from me. My phone number is always listed. That's my direct number, and I'll be happy to help you.
So maybe I do have a question, not regarding this, but how soon is the study going to start? When do you think specimens will start going out? Well,
the first patient has come online. Let's see if I better go in with a different role here.
Yeah, because I got a call from somebody, I think, last Friday about this, so I was like,
Yeah. So there is a patient. I don't believe they've taken the specimen yet. So I'm now going in. Oh, I don't have the right role here. I have to go back. I'll go in again. But yes, you should be receiving specimens very soon.
Okay, and so I do have RAVE access, so I'm assuming then when I click in here at some point, I'll see this study and I'll be able to receive samples?
That's correct.
That's correct? Okay. Anna does not have RAVE access, so I
And neither do I.
Yep.
Okay.
So when I'm going to send RAVE invites to both of you and to Anna as well, and hopefully this afternoon, but certainly if not this afternoon, tomorrow morning. So I'm trying to remember what I was going to show you here. Oh yes, this is the live patient. This is not UAT. So here we're seeing at the University of Pittsburgh, and they have not yet begun the data entry in their specimens. So this patient, I believe they should have already done the baseline specimen collection, but I did have an email with the person at the site yesterday, and she said they were just about to do it, but it looks like they have not yet done it. So I'm going to check with her again this afternoon to find out what's going on. So you will be receiving the RAVE invites shortly, and if you have any, I know, Kathy, you're used to the RAVE environment, but you said that Anna is not, and Chris, you've not been in before either. So if you have any questions about navigating RAVE, again, I can help you easily.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, great.
And if possible, if we are going to be starting up before, because I'm going to be out of town starting on Friday, so Anna will not be able to log anything in. I don't know. I am hoping that, I don't know, if I'm getting emails, I guess I can try to forward them to her if we haven't been able to update the OVCA lab email notification.
Right.
But it would be nice if someone could alert us that the study is starting.
Yes.
Just especially now when people are, out of town and such with the holidays.
Yeah. So I will get this OVCA lab email in there as soon as possible, but is it currently set to forward emails to both you and to Anna?
Well, no, it's just monitored by myself and her and two other people that work for Dr. Swisher. So it's just an email that we can all check.
Yes. So anyway, as soon as I am monitoring this protocol on a daily basis, so as soon as I see that some further action is happening, I can send emails to you guys.
Yeah, I would really appreciate that.
And also, if you can sit with Anna, as soon as possible just to go over this, but I think it would be really helpful for her to be able to view the video. So assuming she
When
can
will
work
that be available?
I will attempt to have it available by the end of this week. And if it is available, I will send an email to you and to Anna and also to you, Chris, so that you can reference it if you want, just to alert you to which page on the Theradex website you'll be able to find it.
Okay, yeah, if it's going to be the end of the week, that would be great because then she can watch it without me. I'll go over this with her, but, I mean, I don't know if she'll be logging it in. I mean, when we get a specimen, we will know what to do with it. But as far as, like, paperwork, that might have to wait. She's new, also new to our staff, so she's learning. So, all right, sounds good.
So, and ideally, it's fairly real time. When you receive the specimen, the day that you receive it, it's great if you could log it into Rave. I understand, of course, that that's not always possible, but that's a good intention to try to work towards.
Yeah, that definitely will not be happening this next week. But normally that is how I roll. So I will check my emails once a day, but that's as far as I'm going to go.
Okay. So very good.
I will be on the beach in Hawaii, so I'm not planning to work. I know.
I hope you have an amazing vacation.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm planning on it. Just trying to get out of here is the problem.
Yep.
So, all right. Well, thank you so much for your time, and I'm sure we will be in touch.
You're welcome. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.